Hello friends! Have you ever heard about the story of NYI RORO KIDUL, the mystical depths of the Southern Sea? If not, let me share this fascinating tale with you. Once upon a time, there was a great kingdom on the island of Java. Its people lived prosperous and happy lives. The kingdom was wisely ruled by King Mundangwangi. He had a queen named Jui Rembulan, and they were blessed with a very beautiful daughter named Jui Kadisha. In those times, a king usually had other wives called concubines. Likewise, King Mundangwangi had a concubine named Jui Mushiara. It turned out that Jui Mushiara had a bad character, because she was always jealous of Jui Rembulan. One day, the great sage Pandita Agum came to see King Mundangwangi. He conveyed that soon King Mundangwangi would have a son from his concubine, Jui Mushiara. King Mundangwangi was very happy, because he had long awaited the birth of his offspring. Even though my son is born from a concubine, with my authority, I will elevate him to be the crown prince, said King Mundangwangi to the great sage Pandita Agum. Jui Mushiara, who secretly overheard these words, welcomed them with great joy. It turned out that Pandita Agum's prediction was correct, because not long afterward, Jui Mushiara became pregnant. When the time came, she gave birth to a baby boy. King Mundangwangi was very happy to welcome the birth of his son. He grew even more fond of Jui Mushiara, but still loved Jui Rembulan and Jui Kadisha. This, however, made Jui Mushiara feel envious. She wanted to be loved by King Mundangwangi entirely. I must quickly get rid of Jui Rembulan and Jui Kadisha so that I can become the queen, muttered Jui Mushiara. Jui Mushiara carefully prepared her evil plan. One night, she went into the forest to meet an old witch, accompanied by a loyal guard. The old witch had a very ugly face, a thin body, but appeared healthy and very agile. She was also very powerful, and mastered all kinds of magic. Jui Mushiara expressed her malicious intent to harm Jui Rembulan and Jui Kadisha. All right. Tomorrow night I will go to the palace and directly to the chambers of Jui Rembulan and Jui Kadisha. Do not worry. Your wish will soon be fulfilled, said the old witch confidently. Hearing the old witch's assurance, Jui Mushiara immediately gave her a bag of gold as payment for her services. On the appointed night, the old witch entered King Mundangwangi's palace. Due to her magical powers, no one noticed her arrival as she freely entered the chambers of Jui Rembulan and Jui Kadisha. The old witch then recited a curse to summon demons to help her execute her evil plan. After finishing, she bent over and blew on the faces of Jui Rembulan and Jui Kadisha, who were fast asleep. Phew! A gust of wind came out of the old witch's mouth. Then she left the palace calmly. What happened? Screamed Jui Rembulan and Jui Kadisha when they woke up. Their entire bodies were covered with sores and ulcers that emitted a foul odor. Oh, what sin have we committed to make our bodies so repulsive? They lamented endlessly. Immediately, the entire palace was in an uproar. King Mundangwangi felt sad, confused, and frustrated all at once. Pandita Agum and many healers were summoned to cure the empress and her daughter. Unfortunately, no one could heal them. Fearing that the dreadful disease might spread, King Mundangwangi immediately ordered his guards to exile them to the forest. I do not want this palace to be contaminated by such a contagious and repulsive disease. They must be banished far from the palace, commanded King Mundangwangi to his guards. Finally, one morning, Dewi Rembulan and Dewi Kadisha were placed in 2 large litters covered tightly with cloth, and then taken to the dense forest. Upon arriving in the forest, the litters were opened, and the guards quickly fled, leaving them behind. Dewi Rembulan and Dewi Kadisha realized they were not taken away to be healed, but were abandoned in the forest. Dewi Kadisha wept, unable to bear her sadness. "My child, don't cry. We must surrender ourselves to the divine. This may be a trial we must endure," said Dewi Rembulan, consoling her daughter. Dewi Kadisha tried to cast off her sadness by walking through the forest. Not long after, Dewi Rembulan became ill and grew weaker. Eventually, she breathed her last breath in Dewi Kadisha's arms. Dewi Kadisha was very saddened by her mother's death. Her body grew thinner, and her illness worsened. She walked through the forest towards the south. "The sea!" she exclaimed joyfully. She had reached the southern coast. Suddenly, she saw a handsome young man standing not far from her. "I will help you, and your suffering will soon end," said the young man. Dewi Kadisha was overjoyed to hear his words. She was willing to follow the young man's instructions to cure her illness. Suddenly, the young man dived into the sea, and Dewi Kadisha immediately followed him. Miraculously, her sores and ulcers disappeared instantly. Dewi Kadisha was very happy to realize she had been cured of her illness, and wanted to thank the young man. Strangely, the young man had vanished. Dewi Kadisha realized she had been in the sea for a long time, but did not drown. She then looked at her legs, and was very shocked to see what had happened to her. "Har!" she screamed, seeing that her legs were now covered with fins, making them resemble a fish's tail. Dewi Kadisha finally resigned herself to her fate. She then lived in the southern sea, occasionally making appearances. It is said that the locals around the southern coast sometimes see a beautiful princess with long hair, whose body from the waist down resembles a fish's tail. People call her NYI RORO KIDUL, the ruler of the southern coast.